The body has limitations, the mind does not. We focus so much on what goes on from the neck down that we forget it all starts from here. Everything starts from here. If you're not mentally ready, you're never really physically prepared. And that's where the preparation starts. I firmly believe that everybody in this room, everybody on this planet has a gift. It's your job to figure out what that gift is. Then it becomes your job to decide whether you're going to act on that or not. Everyone sees the work that you put in, but it's what you don't see is going to determine how far you're going to get. I hear stuff all the time. People say, oh, look in the mirror and you'll see why you're not succeeding. I don't believe that, okay? It's what you don't see in the mirror. That's what's holding you back. It's what you're not willing to see is why talent is not enough. And when you finally see it and accept it and decide to work on it, then you can take that next level.
Have the right heroes. I mean, I've always been lucky in that respect. And if the people you look up to are going to form your vision of what the world, how you want to be in later life, I'll give you two pieces of advice. I'd invest as much in myself as you can. I mean, you're your own biggest asset by far. I mean, you've got all kinds of potential. All the people in this room, you're lucky to be in this country, gotten a good education, but most people go through life using up a very, very small part of their potential. And so anything you do that invests in yourself, that's the best investment you can possibly make. And then I would follow my passion. I mean, whatever turns you on. I was lucky. I found something early that turned me on. But you don't want to take a job just for the money. You don't want to take a job for an organization that you really don't feel good about, or work for people that you don't feel good about. You really want to be excited when you get out of bed every morning. And it won't necessarily be the job that you have 10 years later, but you'll be learning so much as you go along. And I took a job with Ben Graham, my hero, and I never asked the salary, and I found at the end of the month when I got my first paycheck what I was earning, because I just knew it was the right thing to be doing. So I would follow your passion.
I think happiness trumps everything. Easy for me to say because it really worked out for me, because happiness coincides with financial upside. I have friends who make $74,000 a year that are just happier people than friends that are making $18 million a year that are not. You've got to do you, but please don't let the entrepreneurial society, don't let me, don't let your parents push you into what success is. It's different for all of us, but, and this is the big but, you gotta be self-aware about it.
Yeah, who you spend time with is who you become. Because whoever you spend time with affects your beliefs and your values, and your need for their love, their attention, their significance will affect. If I'm gonna play tennis and I play someone worse than I am on a regular basis, I am not gonna get better.
Right, so you play magazine.
Yeah, you do that. Even if you play terrible, your skill sets are gonna grow significantly because of your desire to connect and to play at that level.
And I should be the weakest link in my chain that I have, and that'll make me be stronger, it'll make me run faster. I mean, like an analogy I've always used is, all right, if you run the 100-yard dash with people that can't run as fast as you, yeah, you'll win. Hands down, you know that. But if you run with people much faster than you, all right, yeah, you might come in last every single time, but your time will be better. Because they're making you run all the faster. They're making you dig down just a little bit more. Doesn't matter that you won, your time is faster. And that's what I knew I had to do. I had to get out of Loserville and throw myself into a place where, like, this is what the fuckers do for a living.
The reality is going out and trying to do something, whether it's to make it on your own, it's to start your own company, to write a book, or to pursue some artistic career, you are facing adversity day in and day out. People don't like what you do. It's easier to quit. You run out of inspiration. you think this opportunity is going to be your big shot and it doesn't pan out, or you get fired, or you get bumped. There's what it really is a day in and day out kind of adversity, right? It's never as easy as you think it is. It never goes as smoothly as you think it is. And I think obviously how we respond to these sort of pivotal moments of enormous adversity is one thing, but I am more interested in how you bounce back day in and day out. How do you get up and do the work, and get up and do the work, and get up and do the work, and deal with the problems as they come your way.
It is completely in your control, and it's completely identifiable. And it's only when people don't want to believe that very simple truth. And if you guys know Occam's razor, right? The simplest answer is usually the right answer. The simplest answer is probably not some big conspiracy against you or the department that you're in or whatever. It's you're not doing a good enough job. Steve Martin wrote a book called Be So Good They Can't Ignore You.
It's like the masterpiece is enjoying your life to the utmost and having the most success with your family, with your friends, the most relationship success, the most harmony with the people that you come in contact with. But that doesn't seem to be rewarded the same way in our world as like someone who's got some baller house and a fucking helicopter picks him up and he's got golden underwear
But that fades, right?
Yeah, it does, but
they can have that helicopter, and I guarantee you that it fades and they want something new. There's something new that you're desiring past that.
Like if you're born into like some super wealthy multi-billionaire family and you've got a Ferrari when you're 16 and you drive around and fly around everywhere in private jets and you live in a giant mansion, I just don't think that you can ever appreciate
definitely not
the difficulty of life.
So the first important lesson that I want to impart to you is the importance of escaping what I call the comparison paradigm. Okay, so you basically have the self-acceptance paradigm and the comparison paradigm. And let me point out some things to you that you might have never thought about. All right, so say you don't make a lot of money, or let's say that you're not that tall or you're not that good looking. Well, think about this for a minute. Imagine you're making 100 grand a year. Okay, you're making $100,000 a year. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, what if I told you that when you make about 100 grand a year, you move into a neighborhood where you probably have friends that are making 500,000 a year or even $1 million a year? Well, what happens if you move into a neighborhood where people are making $1 million a year? You're gonna be around people who are making $10 million a year. How about if you make 10 million? You'll be around people making 50 million. Well, do you think that you would feel secure with yourself if you had $50 million a year? You think you would, right? Actually, what I would tell you is that unless you fix the inner issue, you still probably wouldn't. Because when you're making 50 million a year, now you're comparing yourself to people that are called old money. And old money laughs in the face of $50 million a year, okay? Old money laughs in the face of $50 million a year. In fact, you will never win. You will never win in this paradigm. I remember being out in the Lincoln Mall in Miami South Beach, and I went to this watch store. I think it was called Arthur Miller or something like that, and they have these like $100,000 watches. And out of curiosity, I said, how do you sell these? Who's interested in stuff like this? Just not like in a mean or judgmental way, I was just curious. And she was like, well, when you can't bring your yacht to the restaurant, you can wear your Arthur Miller watch. And why do people do that? Well, I think they do it because they need for people to see that they have the big yacht in order to feel comfortable with themselves. It's like when their yacht's not around, they feel naked. It's almost like if you have your favorite shirt, or you're not wearing it, you don't feel good. As you get more and more money, you buy your favorite yacht, you don't feel comfortable if you don't have your favorite yacht around. You're in celebrity circles, but actually celebrities aren't even that rich compared to old money. Whatever circle you're in, there's always somebody who has more, okay? There was a great Nas lyric where he talked about this, where he's like, rappers, we think we're so tight because we got like a gold grill or a Rolex watch, or like heated floors. There's people with a piece of artwork in their house that's worth more than your gold grill, your heated floor, and everything that you own. One little piece of artwork, okay? So if you're comparing yourself, you're not gonna win, no matter how much cash you make. You have to get out of that paradigm. All it is pure insecurity. In fact,
You talk a lot about having a powerful vision and how necessary that is for success. So I'm thinking of you here on your sister's couch. What did that vision look like?
Pay my own rent. That was the first vision. And I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, get caught up in these big ideas or big visions when they're in a small place to start and when they feel like it's too unattainable. And so I always talk about starting with something simple. And so for me, the next step was to get off the couch and feel like I was an adult.
Right.
I would write out my own itinerary every day. How much time am I going to work towards my health? When is that time? When am I allocating it towards? How much time am I working towards reaching out to mentors, to learning new information, to traveling to events, to consuming books, whatever it may be? And some people may say that's a little crazy or a little too much.
Right.
If you want to achieve those results, you've got to be very intentional about every moment. The more focused, the easier the opportunity to achieve.
Doing something, you should believe in it with your heart. Yeah. And just the only way you can do that is to know who you are. But once you know who you are, how you want to work, how you want to spend that part of your life for work, and then you just go do it. You start every day and you learn stuff as you go, and that's the thing. So, the advice is, maybe it's some of the things I've already said, like, if you know yourself, then you can start to build a vision for what you want to become and what you want to do with your life.
How do you prepare somebody to survive that initial stage of boredom and pain?
Well, pain is great. You've got to embrace pain. Pain is pleasure. You've got to make the connection between the physical and the mental. When you work out, it's painful. I do long distance swimming is like my main workout. I also do other things, but that's my main workout. I'm on like mile 1 and I'm like, oh man, this is fun. I'm so bored and I'm really gonna collapse. But when I'm finished, I am like, oh man, I've got so much energy and it feels so good and I pushed past it. Well, you know that when you're exercising, when you're running or you're working out or whatever, it hurts, but it leads to something pleasurable. You have to be able to translate that to mental things. And if you make that switch in your mind, it is mind-blowing what can happen to you. If the boredom of learning something technical, and you're able to say to yourself, wow, I'm gonna master this bit of coding after a few months, and just think of what it's gonna allow me to do. Okay, so the boredom now is actually not so bad, because I can imagine the powers that it's gonna lead to. I'm not gonna skip the steps, I'm still gonna learn, but I'm thinking of all of that post-workout feeling I'm gonna have. You've gotta be able to understand, embrace pain. Pain is something to embrace. If there's no resistance to you, you're not gonna get anywhere in life. Who are the most messed up people in the world? Spoiled kids. Kids who are given everything, who have a rich father or mother and they don't have to work or try. They are the most messed up people you'll ever meet.
All right, you're writing a book on human nature. Why is that true?
Because they have no limits, they have no resistance. They don't have to push against anything. They don't have to go like that to get somewhere.
Does that atrophy something in the brain, do you think?
Well, it's one of the laws of human nature. One of the laws is about what I call necessity. We are animals of necessity. When we have to discover or build something, we build it if our life is on the line. That's how we're genetically primed from several million years ago. And when there's no necessity, when we don't have to do something, we just lie around and watch television and smoke pot.
You can have any habit you want to be. You can be lazy, you can be prompt, you can be late, you can be honest, you can cut corners. I mean, you have all these choices. And those are choices for you to make. Nobody else is going to make them for you. And I would suggest that you play this little game with me too. Think about the person you would most like to be in life. So maybe it's one of your contemporaries, maybe it's somebody a little older, but pick out the person you admire the most, the person that you'd change places with if you could. And then write down why you admire them. Just put it on a piece of paper. And then figure out the person that you would least like to change places with you. Who really turns you off? Who do you find repulsive? And list the reasons why that person turns you off so much. And put those down on the other side of the paper. And then look at that list. And you'll find that everything on the left-hand side, what you admire in other people, the qualities they bring to life, cheerfulness, generosity, all kinds of things. You'll find those are things you can do yourself. It's very simple. You got to apply yourself, but the habits you form in doing that early on will carry you through life. And on the other hand, you'll find that the things that make people repulsive, selfishness, obnoxiousness, all these things, egotism, are things that no one has to have. If you find those in yourself, you can get rid of them as long as you get rid of them early. So all I suggest is that you write down a list of what you admire, what you find contemptible, and decide that, you know, the ones on the admired side are ones you're going to acquire for yourself. And if you do that when you're young, it'll carry you through the rest of your life. This doesn't work if you do it when you're 50 or 60. By then, the habits are too well formed. But if you do it early, behavior becomes a habit. So if you do that, 2 or 3 years from now, if you go through the same exercise, you'll find out that the person you admire the most is yourself. That can be a little dangerous under some circumstances, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, you want to be somebody you like, and you don't want to be somebody that you dislike. And form those habits early. You basically can't miss.
In your bias right now, you're thinking, okay, if I get what I want, then I'm gonna be happy. And what I'm showing you is that that's true. And any fucking asshole who tells you you shouldn't work hard, you shouldn't be competitive, you shouldn't go for what you want, you shouldn't fucking crush it financially, in your relationships, in your health, in your goals to get what you want. You should just be happy now and just don't worry about that stuff. Don't be attached. Any fucking asshole that tells you that, just look at them. You don't have to say it out loud, but in your mind, just say, go fuck yourself, okay? Because they're leading you down a path that's not there to serve you. They're trying to lead you into their groupthink to rationalize their own beliefs. But likewise, also realize that there's another way of looking at things where you could train yourself to have gratitude right now. You could train yourself to laugh right now. You could train yourself to be present to the moment right now. You could discover that when you think less and allow a space in the thinking so that you can get presence, a lot of genius and brilliance and spontaneity and awareness will come to you naturally. You may even discover that you've been getting in your own way. You may discover that you've been making yourself more tired and miserable than you have to be. You may discover that your most natural state is that of joy, and that a lot of modern society, consumer culture, and ego fulfillment has robbed you of a naturally happy state, that you could have spent the last several years of your life in the fucking zone, super happy, and then instead you've been chasing phantoms. You may discover that too.
Part of us always knows that we're just a doctor's visit away or a phone call away from being starkly reminded with the fact of our own mortality, or of those closest to us. Now, I'm sure many of you in this room have experienced this in some form. You must know how uncanny it is to suddenly be thrown out of the normal course of your life and just be given the full-time job of not dying or caring for someone who is. But the one thing people tend to realize at moments like this is that they wasted a lot of time when life was normal. Okay, it's not just what they did with their time. It's not just that they spent too much time working or compulsively checking email. It's that they cared about the wrong things. They regret what they cared about. Their attention was bound up in petty concerns, year after year, when life was normal. And this is a paradox, of course, because we all know this epiphany is coming. Don't you know this is coming? Don't you know that there's going to come a day when you'll be sick or someone close to you will die, and you'll look back on the kinds of things that captured your attention, and you'll think, what was I doing? You know this, and yet if you're like most people, you will spend most of your time in life tacitly presuming you'll live forever. I mean, it's like watching a bad movie for the 4th time. Or bickering with your spouse. I mean, these things only make sense in light of eternity.
We bought into this complete falsehood that At some point, you're going to have the courage. At some point, you're going to have the confidence, and it's total bullshit, frankly. Are we allowed to swear on this show?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's complete garbage, and so there are so many people in the world, and you know, you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation, and that's not true, because the way that our minds are wired, and the fact about human beings is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brains are designed to protect us from those things because our brains are trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, in order to be the best parent, the best spouse, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary, which sets up this problem for all of us. You're never gonna feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy, right?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I know exactly why that is. Because I've studied this so much, because for me, one of the hardest things to figure out was, why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? And what I've come to realize, and what we'll talk a lot about today, is that the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you. And the way that this all happens is it all starts with something super subtle that none of us ever catch. And that is with this habit that all of us have that nobody's talking about. We all have a habit of hesitating. We have an idea, you're sitting in a meeting, you have this incredible idea, and instead of just, you know, saying it, you stop and you hesitate. Now, what none of us realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. So then your brain goes to work to protect you. It has a million different ways to protect you. One of them is called the spotlight effect. It's a known phenomenon where your brain magnifies risk. Why? To pull you away from something that it perceives to be a problem. And so you can truly trace every single problem or complaint in your life to silence and hesitation. Those are decisions. And what I do, and what's changed my life, is waking up and realizing that motivation's garbage. I'm never gonna feel like doing the things that are tough or difficult or uncertain or scary or new. So I need to stop waiting until I feel like it. And number two, I am one decision away from a totally different marriage, a totally different life, a totally different job, a totally different income, a totally different relationship with my kids. Your life comes down to your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you will change everything.
People should fucking stop complaining.
Right.
People should figure out who the fuck they are.
Good call.
People should not listen to America propaganda of fixing the shit they suck at. They should be tripling down on what they're good at. They should be competent in certain areas, but you're not gonna become Beyonce, or, you know, like your bone structure is a certain way. Like, you're not gonna solve everything. Your IQ can get a little bit better, but don't worry about the incremental. Figure out what you fucking puts you on fire and you're halfway decent at. If you're lucky enough right now to be listening and you're good at what you like, become tunnel fucking vision. Because there's way too many voices telling you what and how. And here's the other thing, and this is the big one, John, because you have a humongous audience. The biggest thing that I've seen dividends from, have the conversation with the person that's holding you back. The reason most people who are listening right now are not doing that thing is they're worried about the opinion of somebody, usually their mother, usually their father. And the reality is that your spouse may be the person holding you back, and you have to have that conversation.
Cut them off.
We have to get to a place where you're doing you, because the number one thing that scares the fuck out of me is regret. And you're gonna sit there at 72 and you're gonna say, I wish, I wish, I wish. And whether that's money or spend more time with your family, there's a million ways to do this.
Our whole lives are guided moment to moment by the state we're in. Learning how to change your state, not bullshit, not fake, but to go from pissed off, frustrated, freaked out to back in your center, or creative, or determined, or something that's going to move you forward. It's going to create a better quality of life for you and others. That's a critical skill set. So moment to moment in our life's controlled by our states.
Yep.
You know, if you're in an angry state, you're gonna respond differently than if you're feeling playful. But what controls those states long term is your model of the world. Everyone has different goals and dreams and desires, but as I traveled around the world to 100 countries, I started going, holy shit, I'm seeing the same problems. What's underneath it? I began to see that there are these same 6 human needs that we all have, the same needs. We all have a need for certainty, that we can avoid pain and we can have some pleasure, some comfort. We all need uncertainty. We need variety, or we feel dead inside. If you're totally certain, you're bored. If you have total variety, you're like freak out. And it's not a balance, it's learning which of these you need more as a person. Everyone's developed a different set of values in that area. The need for significance, to feel unique, special, important, the need to feel loved, the need to grow, and the need to contribute. Some people value certainty at the top of their list. That's their center of their target. I don't want to do anything unless I know it's going to work. I don't want to do anything unless it's the same. If you change anything, they freak out. If you're driven by love first, you want certainty too, but love is higher, you're going to behave very differently than if you're driven by significance. I have to be the one. The two that most people have, 90% of the planet, if you said, of all these needs, which one do you really focus on most day to day? Everybody wants love, but what do you focus on? Most people focus on being significant. We live in a Facebook world where people fake their life, put new filters, make it look different than it really is, tell stories that, you know, are totally full of it to make themselves look good. Because we live in this kind of false world where significance is more important than love. Right. And it separates us.
Writing a book or making a movie or editing videos or starting a company, these are really hard things to do, right? It's incredibly difficult. It's often very discouraging. There's not a lot of validation until very much at the end of the process, right? And so what happens is that talking about these things is always easier and always much more validating than doing them if you sort of have the wrong attitude. So what you see is people spending all their time on social media talking about what they're doing instead of struggling to do it, right? And there's a big problem with that. There's the Henry Ford quote where he's saying, you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. And so people are spending their time, you're sort of missing the point, right? You're talking about writing a novel instead of struggling to write that novel. And so you have to understand that ultimately the best thing you can do for your brand and for yourself is to just make really great stuff. You know what I mean? A book that changes people's lives, but quietly changes people's lives is still going to be a much better tool for you than a book that you market the crap out of that has very little resonance or impact, right? So I want people to question the amount of time that they put on things like social media. I want you to question whose interests you're serving when you're posting on there. Like, there's a great line, if you're not paying for it, then you're the product that's being sold, right? Like, you don't pay for Facebook, so Facebook sucks as much time out of you as it possibly can. It makes it as addictive as it possibly can, and then it sells you to advertisers. And so you want to make sure that you're not giving up your sort of precious life and your precious energy that could be spent on your work, basically dicking around on social network.
Guys that don't have a larger purpose, when they get in pain, what's their interpretation of the pain?
Sucks.
I'm a victim. I've been victimized. That thing victimized me. I've been victimized. Victimize me. I want to complain. I'm a complain. What's the complain gonna do, homie? I speak the truth. I speak the truth. Okay, so what? What's it gonna do? I'm just saying the truth. Like, dude, what the fuck are you saying, dude? Every second out of your mouth with this shit is a loss of your life. This is a peak of your life. What are you talking about this shit for? You don't need to blame anything for anybody. Dude, if I get robbed, you know what I say to myself? I go, oh, I guess I shouldn't have put myself in a position to get robbed. If I get fucked over, I go, oh, I guess I shouldn't put myself in a position to get fucked over. Sometimes I even get fucked over in very unfair ways. And then, you know what I say to myself? I say, oh, well, a lot of my situation is good, and maybe I wouldn't have this situation if these other fucked up things weren't happening, and I'm trying to remove those fucked up things out of my life, but in the meantime, they're there, and that's part of the life I'm in, so I accept it and I work my way out. Full self-responsibility. And dude, I do get sometimes victimized. I actually do. But again, I'm not like, victimize me. Okay, I'm just like, well, sometimes in life isn't fair. Sometimes my situation is not totally fair, and if I keep working on improving my situation, I'll have less of that in the future. But then again, my kid could get killed in a car accident, and then all that little fucking victimize me won't mean shit anyway. So life's gonna have an inherent level of pain and unfairness in it. You try to minimize it for what you can, the rest you accept. Part of life is like, you know, improving your execution, competence, and ability to control your situation. Another part of it is just learning to accept that it's gonna be fucked up either way.
This motherfucker, between 1994 and 1996, produced 12 albums, 10 of which were released posthumously. We started 8 movies, and he wrote 2 books of poetry. And you're stressing out about you know, writing a blog post. I'm stressing out about writing 1 book in 6 or 8 months. It's ridiculous. You have to have some urgency. Like, you have to not always believe that you're gonna live 80 more years, because you might not. You know, you just have to wake up in the morning with this mentality that's already too late. I don't want to make this whole like civil rights thing, but Malcolm X has a great quote about this.
Do it yourself philosophy. Do it right now philosophy. It's already too late philosophy.
He was talking about black nationalism and why black people need to just figure out their shit now, whatever. And he said, you know, it's a do-it-yourself philosophy, a do-it-right-now philosophy, it's already too late philosophy. That's the philosophy you gotta have for your life. You just gotta figure out what it is you wanna do and then say, shit, I'm already late. Because that's it, you can wait up tomorrow, you're fucking dead. You know, I had a friend from Under 30 Experiences, which is a great group of friends of mine. We do a lot of work together, and I love everyone that's involved there. I had a friend who was swimming out in Costa Rica, and he got pulled in by riptide. He's fucking gone. I really hope he's not. I hope and pray that they find him and he's safe. He got pulled in by riptide in the ocean, and he's gone. He's just gone. He's a 20-year-old dude. He woke up, and now that's it. He has no more life. You know, you gotta have urgency. If you want something, you gotta go out and get it now. You gotta stay up late. If you value sleep more than you value getting your shit done, well, then you're always gonna be sleeping and not getting your shit done. And I'm not saying don't rest your body. I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. But like, wake up with some urgency, and some intensity, and some purpose, and some focus. Like, you don't have that much time to do what you want to do. And there really will come a point one day where you will wake up in your bed, and it will be too late to do the things you want to do. I know it seems so far away, and I'm talking on a blog called Rich 20-something, and that implies that I have 80 more years to where the fuck I want. But maybe we really don't. You know? So if that's the case, and we really don't know, then shouldn't we err on the side of caution and say, maybe I should be a little bit more pressured to get some things done?
You will move in the direction of the people that you associate with. So it's important to associate with people that are better than yourself. You want to associate with people who are the kind of person you'd like to be. You'll move in that direction. The friends you have, they will form you as you go through life, and make some good friends, keep them for the rest of your life, but have them be people that you admire as well as like.
Bill, you'd add to that?
Yeah, some friends do bring out the best in you, and so it's good to invest in those friendships. And you know, some friends challenge you about things you're doing, and that, you know, that level of intimacy is great. I wouldn't say that I was so obsessed with work. I didn't invest, I'd say, in my 20s and 30s as much as I should have. It's really through Melinda and seeing, you know, other people, I realized, okay, that is, you know, it's really worth the investment to have those people, as you're always there to help them, and vice versa.
Related to this pendulum, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to personal development, when it comes to business success advice, any kind of other advice, is that a lot of people, I mean, there's been a lot of marketing in the last couple of years that is basically doing this. It's saying, hey, find the experts, and I've been saying this as well. I mean, many times I say this, right? Find the experts, find the guy who has done it, find the guys who have the results that you want, that has the business, that has the body, that has the lifestyle, that has the relationships, and study them. Learn from them, master what they know, because they will probably be able to help you to get to your goal faster, right? And that's the assumption, and that's true, right? If you seek out an expert in, let's say, someone who has built multiple 7-figure businesses, obviously, I mean, you can learn from them and you'll be able to get there faster. Similarly with relationships, if you find someone who is an expert at that, I mean, they'll be able to help you get there faster. To whatever person you want to meet, or to master social skills, to get better at that, obviously they will know, right? And it's really good that we live in an age where there is that information out there, there is that abundance, and there is that ability for you to kind of use that as a shortcut to get your results faster. But now what's happened is that there's this pendulum that has swung in that direction where people will spend literally all of their time studying other people. Like 99% of their time will be spent studying and trying to copy what other people are doing, and there's 0 minutes spent studying yourself, right? And studying yourself is where you actually see whether something is working for you or not. And it's almost like people are blinded, and there's obviously a finite amount of time. And if you're not studying yourself, you're not looking at what works for you, how are you gonna figure that out? How are you gonna get results? And I mean, success is not random, you know? It's not like it'll randomly happen because you read this book. It's not gonna randomly happen because you met this guy, or you networked with this guy, or you copied this guy's workout, or you bought a program. I mean, it's not randomly gonna happen. But what is gonna happen is that you're gonna take action based on the ideas, based on the principles or the methods that you potentially received from some of those programs, from some of those people that are really successful, and you apply some of that stuff and you see what stuff works for you and you discard the stuff that doesn't work for you. That's basically how it works.
Whenever you look at somebody that's been successful, do not allow yourself to make them extraordinary at your expense. You're capable of whatever it is that they're capable of. But it comes down to the mental constructs that you're going to have to build and leverage in your own mind in order to do something great. So I switched my self-esteem from being right and being smart to being the learner who was always willing to admit that he was wrong, identify the right answer, give credit to the person who thought of it, and put more energy behind it than anyone else. And that became my driver.
Being the most connected generation in the history of mankind has its upsides, but it also comes with real invisible problems. And we've grown up aspiring to be our idols. And that's dangerous. I mean, aspiring to achieve great things is fine, but aspiring to be our idols is dangerous. It's dangerous to want to be someone you're not. It's also not possible, but it's dangerous. And social media has glamorized the lives of a few, and we get to see their nice cars and their holidays and their wonderful lifestyle, and we want that, but we don't see the years and years of hustle, the pain, the sacrifice, the natural talent they had, the innate passion for their craft, the incredible details Steve Jobs saw the world in, or the unbelievable hardship that Richard Branson went through to get there. We don't see that. We just see the destination, and we want that. But most of us don't have and aren't willing to give what it takes to fulfill that journey, because it's not our journey, it's theirs. You're not passionate about typography or art or design, but you want to be Steve Jobs. You're not Steve Jobs, you're you. We are the generation that has confused admiration with aspiration, and we'll never find our own happiness until we accept that we can't have anyone else's life but our own. And if we realize this and focus on our own, then our life will be more than enough. You know, young men want to be Mark Zuckerberg because they admire him. But the crazy irony is we admire him because his life was unlike others. He didn't try to be like others. So if you want to be Mark Zuckerberg, it's time to stop trying to be Mark Zuckerberg, because you'll never achieve your personal greatness. Our idols did not follow in the footsteps of their heroes. There was no Bill Gates for Bill Gates to emulate. He had to carve out his own path to find his own greatness. Each of our idols have uniqueness as their power. They had the conviction to disagree, the confidence to persevere, and the braveness to go against the status quo instead of embracing it. You know, we celebrate their individuality and their lack of conformity, and the audacity of their strong beliefs that black was equal to white, or their vision for a pocket computer, or a more connected world, or a driverless car, or a personal spaceship that could go to Mars. These ideas could only come from people who did not follow in the footsteps of others. So my advice to my generation is, don't aspire to be your hero. Stop trying to mimic what you see them doing. Strive to be yourself. Visionaries are not to be imitated, they are to be admired. Trying to be someone else is a surefire way of becoming nobody at all. The only great person you can become is the greatest version of yourself, because all the other great people are already taken. And the funny thing is, once you become the greatest version of yourself, people will see your life and they'll make the mistake of trying to be you too.
We want to show all the hoopla. I hate what's going on Instagram right now. Everybody living their fake life, putting up pictures of like baby giraffes and like hot chicks and $50,000 cash on a bed and a boat, and painting a lifestyle that is not realistic. And I want to have this conversation because I think that I have a big enough voice to start the conversation about, look, there is a level of talent here, and what we need to all be doing is figuring out what we're best at and going all in on that.
People who were great at their craft became great, and if you read their stories, you'll learn that obviously it's not like one of the people who talks about is Leonardo da Vinci. It's not like Leonardo da Vinci woke up one day and was painting incredible paintings. Like, there was this long process of apprenticeship and this long period of suffering. Even the fact that da Vinci was like an illegitimate child, so he didn't have all the rights and privileges of being of having like some of the more noble professions, so he had to go into art, and because he had to go into art and he wasn't allowed to like live in his father's house, he had to study and become an apprentice, and he went through this whole process. And the idea of mastery, I think, a lot is lost on our generation. The idea of becoming really, really good at something. And you can tell that because of the social media use that we have, and because of the way that our attention, the arc of our attention now, and how short that arc is. We're losing our ability to focus deeply on something even when it's boring. Which is another thing. There's another book by Cal Newport called Deep Focus. It's called Deep Work. And it just talks, again, kind of links in with mastery, talking about the ability to go deep, to go really deep on a skill that you're trying to build, or go deep in a path you're trying to take in your life. We don't accept boredom anymore. We don't.
No, we don't. And we've made in our minds, we've somehow confused passionate with entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So like, that means if I'm so passionate about this thing, like, but that means I need to be entertained by it all the time. No, it takes a lot of work to get good at something. And that means struggle, that means hardship, and that means a lot of boredom.
Yeah.
And with all these fucking distractions, I mean, look, I have 2 phones, I've got a laptop, you've got the phones, like, there's all these distractions coming at us that are just begging for our attention, that it's so easy to give up at every moment, and therefore we feel like, oh, we're let down, we're not making
It's hard to go deep. It's hard to go deep.
It's really hard to go deep and to focus on something. And then you place that within the context of like, everything that I was talking about.
Most of things that happen in life you have no control over. You don't control your parents, where you're born, when you were born, what era, really what schools you go to, anything like that. And then beyond that, just things happen to you. And so the way I look at it, maybe 95, 96% of what happens in life, you have no control over. It's just circumstances coming at you. But you have a little margin of control. And power is the ability to increase that tiny little margin to 4, 5, 6%. And how do you increase that margin of control over circumstances, over people? Well, the gist of it is controlling yourself. Self-mastery. Power begins from within. If you're aware of who you are, if you're aware of what you're good at, what you're not good at, if you're able to see how emotions kind of govern your life, if you can learn what your weaknesses are and how to control them, you can't ever get complete control, but awareness is almost enough. Slowly through this process of knowing who you are and understanding other people and how they operate so you don't make stupid mistakes in life, you can increase that little tiny margin more and more and more, and you will be a person of power.
The capacity to strengthen and increase your hunger is the one common denominator amongst the most successful people. Richard Branson's a good friend of mine, and Peter Guber, Steve Wynn, all these guys, they've never lost their hunger. Most people are hungry to achieve a certain amount, make a certain amount of money, and then they get comfortable and relax, or to get a certain level of fitness, and then they relax. But, Richard is as driven today as when he was 16 years old starting. I mean, he's like on fire, and he's 65 years old. Warren Buffett is 85 years old. He's as driven today as when, he began the journey, right? And so people that have that hunger, I believe intelligence, I love people that are wickedly smart. Yeah. And I work to be wickedly smart by educating and training myself and so forth and training my brain. But there's a lot of intelligent people can't fight their way out of a paper bag, right? Absolutely. Hunger is the ultimate driver, because if you're hungry, you can get the strategy, you can get the answer. If you can't model it, you can find it. So hunger.
Understand yourself. That's step one. If you don't understand yourself, if you don't really embody that Da Vinci quote about the greatest form of mastery is mastery over oneself, if you don't embody that, you're in real trouble. And the reason is it's going to stop you from seeing opportunities to learn.
Well, I think passion is dangerous, right? So throughout philosophy, especially in Stoic philosophy, they warn against the passions like lust, greed, anger, fear. Historically, passion has meant extreme emotions.
Yes.
And so I tend to gravitate towards that definition. But I think purpose is better than passion. Right? Because passion is...
It's like a mission.
Yeah, passion is like, I like this, it feels good, I want to do this. Purpose is, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, here's why it's important, and I'm not going to stop until it's done. Like, who would you rather have work for you? The guy that just really loves writing, or the person who's like trying to write for a reason, And so that passion can be blinding, and it can get you... like. It's not enough just to love something, or else everyone would do what they love. You also have to be good at it, and you also have to know how to make smart decisions and how to plan.
I mean, a lot of people, I think, don't know what their purpose is. Sure. They don't know how to discover it. They don't even know what they're passionate about. So how do you find a purpose, period? How do you even go about saying, oh, this is my purpose at this point in my life?
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons that people like to say find your passion is that it sounds really smart, and you don't, like, no one's like, okay, then what, right? Like, it's just like, it's like, do what you love, okay, then how? So when I'm saying purpose, I think it's about defining your goals, defining what the life you're trying to build is, and having a real model for what you're doing. Yeah. And for me, I've tried to be very clear about what I'm trying to accomplish to myself, so that I'm not getting distracted by all these. Like, I like to do lots of things.
Me too.
But you got to pick one to really get good at it, And it's like, if you're doing this thing because it means something to you and you know exactly what success looks like for you, it's nice, because then you're not as distracted by the fact that so-and-so is posting photos of them surrounded by $100 bills on Instagram or on a yacht in Ibiza or whatever. You want to make sure that you're not comparing yourself to other people. You want to compare yourself against the progress you've made for whatever your purpose is.
Most people never do that. That's the best way to compare yourself, as to how far you've come or what you've created, as opposed to what everyone else has created around you.
Well, you probably learned that in sports, right? Where it's like, it's not about what other players are doing. It's about whatever you're capable of.
The previous game or the previous week, or what we've done. Yeah. Right. Getting closer to our goal or to our vision. Everyone has their demons in battles. Of course. It doesn't matter if they're like the richest person or the most successful or the most good looking or the most athletic. There's some battle I feel like we're always facing.
Yeah.
It's hard to just be like, I've got it all figured out in all areas of my life. I don't know. Have you met anyone who's just like, everything's figured out? Like,
well, I don't
have any challenges.
I would say the people who you feel like have it most figured out are probably struggling the deepest.
The most.
Because you don't know what each person is wrestling with inside. You don't know if that beautiful celebrity is wrestling with an eating disorder. You don't know if that guy...
or whatever.
Yeah, you don't know if that guy who seems like he has a happy family is miserable and cheats on his wife. You don't know if that person who's sold millions of albums feels like a failure because their parents never told them they love them. You don't know what people are struggling with, and it's like, so it's like you can't compare yourself to them because you don't know what it costs them. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what's inside.
Yeah.
I think Instagram ruined most people's social perception of themselves and each other. It's really easy to see others who are doing well and feel this core of anxiety in the pit of your stomach, this core of inadequacy because others seem to be always doing better than you, driving a nicer car, wearing better clothes, have a hotter girlfriend or boyfriend, have more fun at work. They're not even working. What are they doing? I look at some of these people on Instagram, I think, man, how do you live? Because I don't ever see you doing anything that's remotely looking like work. The reality is, I mean, if you look around across campus, you know, I have fun here on a daily basis, but I'm working. Like, I'm at the computer, I'm working. And I think that it's easy to get jealous of people who seem to be doing really well and think, why not me? You know, what's wrong with me? Once you stop thinking like that, and once you kind of detach the negative emotions from people who are successful and succeeding, it makes room for you to feel better about yourself. And it doesn't put a lot of pressure on you, or puts less pressure on you to be perfect. When people who succeed and successful people inspire you, it makes you start to think about how you can do the things they're doing, rather than think about why you're not able to do them, right? So it's less about competition and more about, you know, creativity in terms of how you're gonna solve your problem. Jealousy never helped anybody, man. And I'm not saying the whole like, oh, you know, if you don't have haters, you ain't doing well. I'm just talking from a basic human level. Nelson Mandela supposedly said this. He said, you know, jealousy or hatred is like drinking poison and expecting it to kill your enemies, right? That's the way you have to think about that feeling of jealousy when other people are doing well. Don't do it. Look at it, become inspired by it, learn to live your own life better.
We humans tend to fixate on what we can see with our eyes. It is the most animal part of our nature. When we look at the changes and transformations in other people's lives, we see the good luck that someone had. We see the book or the project that brings the money and the attention. In other words, we see the visible signs of opportunity and success. What really allows for such dramatic changes are the things that occur on the inside of a person and are completely invisible. The slow accumulation of knowledge and skills, the incremental improvements in work habits and the ability to withstand criticism. Any change in people's fortune is merely the visible manifestation of all of that deep preparation over time. By essentially ignoring this internal invisible aspect, we fail to change anything fundamental within ourselves. And so in a few years' time, we reach our limits yet again, we grow frustrated, we crave change, we grab at something quick and superficial, and we remain prisoners forever of these recurring patterns in our lives. The answer, the key to the ability to transform ourselves is actually insanely simple: to reverse this perspective. Stop fixating on what other people are saying and doing, on the money, the connections, the outward appearance of things. Instead, look inward. Focus on the smaller, internal changes that lay the groundwork for a much larger change in fortune. It is the difference between grasping at an illusion and immersing yourself in reality. And reality is what will liberate and transform you.
This too shall pass. Whatever you're feeling, whether you're feeling great or whether you're feeling terribly, it's going to pass. But if truly you could never feel good about yourself ever again, why would you want to go on? Even serving other people, you do it in part because of how beautiful it feels. So helping people understand that that will pass, that there will be something beautiful again waiting for them, but that what you build your self-esteem around, what that ego is tied to is absolutely critical, because if you tie it to being right, if you tie it to being good, if you tie it to being pious, if you tie it to anything that is fragile or tenuous, it can go away. And then your ego is damaged. And then the psychological immune system kicks in. And then you start making really weird choices. So build your ego around something positive. Build your ego around something that is truly anti-fragile. Something that's anti-fragile is not something that's resilient. Resilient things are still defined by their breaking point. Their breaking point just happens to be far away. Anti-fragile is the more it's attacked, the stronger it gets.
Right? Because inside of your comfort zone, you won't learn much about yourself. Right? If you're just doing some stuff, that is just random stuff that is not challenging you, you won't really get those lessons. To get a good lesson in life, it actually takes a little bit of pain, a little bit of suffering, a little bit of failure, and a little bit of getting outside of that comfort zone. And actually, the more you exit the comfort zone in that healthy way, you don't want to go too far out to go to that red alert. You want to still be in that yellow alert, as you said. And once you exit a little bit, you will just exit enough to be able to learn, to be able to realize lessons that are helpful for you. And that's the third part that is important to understand, is that you can only learn about yourself through challenges, through exiting the comfort zone. You won't learn much through theory. You will only learn through action. Through theory, I mean, you can gather information, you can gather ideas how to take action better, but it's not going to replace action itself. And you know this. I mean, everybody who's been through college, I mean, I got a master's in computing. All that theory that I knew and that I learned and all that stuff, now I can Google in 5 minutes. Right? In 5 minutes, I can Google my entire college. What does that give me? Pretty much nothing. But all the practical stuff that I learned, the theory that I've applied, the ideas that I've kind of went through my own life that I've applied, and I put in my own work in there, my own effort, I remember every single detail of that. And that's what it's coming down to. It's about you taking ideas, applying them as a little scientist, doing a little bit of experiment, realizing that feedback, making sure that you are moving forward, that you are aware, that you have raised that level of awareness, so you're not that person who's just living in a daze, who doesn't know what's going on. And once you get there, that's where the magic happens. So you just have to make micro adjustments. At the end, it's all about the micro adjustments. Right? As you're going toward the path of success, and you guys know that famous picture of success and that people are thinking it's a straight line, but then it's like going all over the place. Well, that is a little bit true, right? And every time you fall off track a little bit, there's a micro adjustment that you make. And that micro adjustment, if it's based on true data that you've gathered through taking action, then it's gonna be a good adjustment. If it's just a random adjustment, you can just go even further off the path. And that's really what you're all trying to figure out, is how do I gather the right data, the data that is actually useful for me. And once you gather that data, that's where success starts to happen.
You want to think of your journey like, it's almost like you see that light at the end of the tunnel, but you also want to think of it like a narrow road. You want to think of success as a narrow road. So you are walking that line of success, but you have a more focused set of behaviors than most people, and you are constantly course correcting. So you're learning from where you fucked up, and you're taking the lesson and then course correcting again and again and again and again. And you know who I actually kind of learned it from? It was interesting. I learned it from watching Kobe Bryant win a championship against Boston 2 years ago. Because every game that the Lakers would play, whenever they would lose, they would always talk about the little lessons that they got from the loss and about how they had the ultimate vision of the championship and how they needed it to come together for the championship.
And it doesn't matter where you're at right now, what you've done in the past, or where you think you're going. You can always create a better tomorrow if you start taking action today. So I want you to think about, what is the vision? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And what's the action step you can take right now? Again, it doesn't matter how broke or how broken you are. You can always create a better future if you start with a positive mindset right now.